All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, December 3rd. We have an 11-game NBA slate, all NBA Cup games to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment for my final plays if you are interested in seeing what I'm rolling with myself. All of that will be for free down in the pinned comment. In terms of my final plays yesterday,
oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Wasn't our best day. A 2-5 day. Now, we've had bad days in the past, and these happen in this industry. We should know that, right? But what puts a bad taste in my mouth is the confidence level heading into these. I thought we had some really, really good spots, which, unfortunately, we didn't. Bam Adebayo and Clint Capella. Clint Capella one more point, and he changes the entire sort of history of yesterday's performance, but he ends with 9 points. If he scores 10, we cash the same game parlay. We cash his first play. Bam Adebayo kind of stunk it up, so yeah, unfortunately leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not going to try and get too down on it. We're having a good NBA season so far, but shout out to the Guppies. you guys got the dub yesterday there. In terms of our ride of the day, though, let's get those vibes a little bit higher, pumping some crowd noise. We got BG in the building, dropping Naz Reid over 1.5 3-pointers made. He cashes that. Naz Reid goes 2 of 5 yesterday, so we are on a little bit of a ride of the day streak here. Now BG can use the hashtag ride of the day today, as can you watching this in the comments. Give me your favorite play. I jump on board with one person's ride each and every day, and if you win, we continue to ride with your play. You get a shout out in the next video, and a shout out on the Twitter, and a shout out on the Guy Boston Sports site. If you win, we continue to ride with your play. Like I said, if you lose, you still get the shout out, but we do got to acknowledge it and watch it and react to it in the next video. So go ahead and drop those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. Let's go ahead and jump into this slate, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You guys have absolutely been crushing it as of late. Let's keep running up the lights. Let's keep Let's keep running up the likes. Let's keep running up the comments, because this is an amazing, amazing community. Actually, speaking of community, I don't talk about it that often, but I probably should. We have a completely free Discord link down in the description. Almost 10,000 people in there talking about their plays, talking about sports in general on the daily. Again, completely free. So go ahead and check out our Discord. But let's jump into game number 1 here. It's not exactly the best out of these 11. It is the highest spread. We have Cleveland minus 16 against Washington in this spot. In terms of injuries, this Cleveland team should be relatively good to go in terms of starters. Stru's still out. Wade, Jerome, game time decisions. But again, in terms of starters, should be good to go. Washington's going to be without Kyle Kuzma, Vucevic, and also Sadiq Bey, who those two have been out for a while. This is no spot in which I'm eager to jump to this game. Maybe we consider something like an Evan Mobley over in points, or Jared Allen over in points, just given the fact that this is a Washington team that very much struggles at preventing points in the paint, and specifically in the restricted area, which is where Mobley and Allen do their damage. So that's probably all I would look at in this spot. I don't even have really a best guess on the spread there. Minus 16 is a lot. The one redeeming quality is obviously Cleveland's the better team, and this is an NBA Cup game, so point differential matters. So maybe Cleveland would be the spot, but again, it's such a large number, I'm not really looking too much there. In terms of a team total or a game total, I would go team total Cleveland, because like I just mentioned, this is an NBA Cup. Point differential matters. They're going to try and go and score as many points as they can, obviously, right? And this is a Cavs team that's 1 and 2 in NBA Cup games so far, so getting a win here would probably do a decent amount for them in terms of their Group C there. So, yeah, give me the Cavs team total or Cavs in terms of the spread, but I do like the idea of Mobley and Allen, because they should play, even if it's a blowout, should play normal minutes, them scoring down low. So I'd take a peek at those two guys in terms of a player prop, or maybe even some sort of a same-game parlay where we can massage those numbers. Next up, we're looking at Charlotte taking on Philadelphia. A lot of injuries to note in this one. Mark Williams actually listed as a game-time decision for Charlotte. Ball is out, Bridges is out, Trey Mann is out, Jeffries listed as a game-time decision as well. Drummond and Embiid are both out for Philadelphia. And then in terms of probability here, Reggie Jackson, Kyle Lowry, and Caleb Martin all listed as probable. This is an interesting one, because I would say that, Embiid and Drummond being out is really tough for down low for Philly and defense and whatnot. But this is a Charlotte team that over the last 10 games shoots almost, not exclusively, but so many threes, okay? Second most three-point attempts per game over the last 10 games, and then just the fifth fewest in terms of shooting in the paint. So I don't think that in the paint is going to be all that terrible. And this is a Philly team, say what you want about them, they've been decent at covering the perimeter. So without LaMelo out there, I do think that this could be a spot for the Sixers. Now, spot for the Sixers is crazy talk because of how bad they've been, but hey, they just played the Pistons, right? That was a couple nights back. They won 111-96. Maybe kind of sort of they're starting to figure something out. I'm not sure. I do think that this is a Charlotte team that, lives and breathes LaMelo. And with LaMelo and Bridges out, I don't necessarily think that it's all that tremendous of a team. You have Brandon Miller. Like their starting lineup is tough. Micic, then Brandon Miller, Josh Green, was it Salaun? I don't even know how to say his name. And then Diabate, who's been okay. Like I don't want to rag on him, but it's just not the same as, when you have LaMelo Ball, Bridges, Mark Williams, like definitely a little bit different of a vibe there. So give me the Sixers. I've been burned by the Sixers many times, as I'm sure a lot of people out there betting have as well. But yeah, give me the Sixers here minus the points. That total is way down there now. It makes a little bit of sense, right? You have the third slowest team over the last 10 games going up against the fifth slowest team. Neither one of these teams, even if they do start to push the pace, are really all that great in transition. In terms of offense, so it is kind of tough to look at an over in this spot. But it's a very low number at 210, right? 210.5. So yeah, I know it's kind of crazy, but this is a spot in which, in terms of these two teams in their last 10 games, the Sixers have hit this over in 6 of their last 10, as well as Charlotte. So it's just a little bit too low for me to say, yeah, I'll roll the under. So give me the over in this spot. So looks like we're looking at today, Philadelphia, they've burned us on the spread multiple times this season, and then Charlotte, they've burned us in overs multiple times this season. So you know what? I'll sound the psycho alert alarm. We're doing some crazy things out here. All right, guys, Underdog has a LeBron free pick for his next game, which is tomorrow. So if you sign up today, you get this square. You can match it up with some other plays to throw in your entry for tonight's games, or you can wait till tomorrow. But for the next 2 days, because he does play tomorrow, LeBron James, 0.5 points. I think he'll get at least 1 point, like I always tell you guys with these free picks. If you guys don't know what Underdog is, it is a super, super fun, definitely makes the games more entertaining DFS app that is available in most states out there. You get this free pick. They do a ton of promos, and you're going to get an amazing deposit match, and you can win up to 1,000 extra money over on Underdog. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, you pick higher or lower for players. You add them into an entry. The more you win, the more you get paid out. You can place an entry like that. It's super, super fun, super simple. The interface is awesome. You can do it on the computer. You can do it on the phone, the tablet, all that good stuff. Go check out Underdog. Get this free pick. You can win up to 1,000 extra money, and speaking of that, you can get up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus in terms of cash. So go check out Underdog, guys. Again, that link will be down below in the description and in the pinned comment. It's a no-brainer. This guy plays tomorrow. You're going to want to have this to boost your payouts in your entries. All right, Detroit is taking on Milwaukee here. Prince and Antetokounmpo are listed as game time decisions, but listed as probable, and this is obviously NBA Cup game, so maybe that gives more incentive to play through something. Detroit, fairly healthy. Cade Cunningham back. We have Ivy, Hardaway, Tobias, and Duran also in the starting lineup. So, yeah, fairly healthy Detroit team. Both these teams in their group so far, or in the Cup so far, 3-0. So, yeah, I guess. And again, I'm not exactly sold. We're only, this is the second year of this. Not exactly sold how much these Cup games or in-season tournament games matter to these guys, or the standings, whatnot. Like, I will admit that I'm not exactly all that sure. So maybe this has a little bit more added motivation because they're tied both 3-0 in the East Group B. Maybe. Overall, though, I do think that this is probably going to be a look for Milwaukee to me. Like, yes, the Detroit Pistons have been good, but let's give Milwaukee credit where they're due. You remember how bad they were maybe a month ago? They've won now 6 straight games. They've won 8 of their last 9. They're looking good. Now, against the spread, yes, they're still struggling a little bit. In their last 10 games, 8-2 against the spread, but 4-5-1. They also struggle on the road, but Detroit hasn't been all that fantastic at home here, and Detroit's only won 4 of their last 10. Against the spread, they've only covered in 3 of their last 10. So, yeah, I know they're healthy. I know that this should be a decent spot for them to keep this game close. It went to overtime last time they played, which was, about a little less than a month ago. But even still, Milwaukee won by 7 points in that one. So even though it was a close game, they did pull away and were able to take the win in overtime. So yeah, it's going to be a Milwaukee spot for me if Giannis plays, obviously. If Giannis is out, then I might even start to peel back and consider Detroit in terms of a final play, but it's going to be Milwaukee for me. They should win the perimeter battle. Detroit, in terms of trying to get to the hoop, Milwaukee should be a lot better at defending the rim. And yeah, I just think that they're the better offense. And if this is going to be a game in which, Milwaukee controls the pace, I don't know if Detroit keeps up. So give me Milwaukee in this spot. I'd also consider their team total over as well as the full game over. I don't envision too much defense in this spot, even though I don't think that either one of these squads are like terribly defensively. They're terrible defensively. I just don't think that they're the best. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll lean towards Milwaukee as well as that over. In terms of player prop here, I would honestly look at Brook Lopez over in threes. Over the last 7 games, there's no team in the league allowing more threes to centers, and that makes a lot of sense, right? You're not going to have Jalen Duren run around on the perimeter and whatnot. So Brook Lopez, who can stretch the floor and kind of create space for Giannis in a sense, could be a look at him to make 2 threes. You're getting 130 in terms of odds, and he's hit it in 8 of his last 10 and in 3 straight games. Over his last 3, he's gone 3-3-4, so he's demolishing this line. Last time he played Detroit, like I mentioned, just less than a month ago, 5 threes. So yeah, Brook Lopez over in threes, definitely a look that I'm considering. All right, guys, we just crossed the 11-minute mark. If you're watching, make sure to comment 11. Let me know that you made it this point to the video. And then also let me know who you think of when you think of number 11 in the NBA. Again, we've done this before. It doesn't have to be like the best player to ever wear number 11 or anything like that. I have a couple. So one is really tough. As a Celtics fan, I do think of Kyrie Irving being like, I want to hang number 11 in the rafters and whatnot. So that's a tough one. But also, it might be a weird one, but I don't know. I think a lot of people could be on the same boat. I do think of Yao Ming in that Rockets number 11. That's one that comes to mind. Obviously, you have greats like, Isaiah Thomas and that type of thing. But yeah, I'm thinking that Yao Ming might be my answer for that. That's kind of a weird, quirky one, but truly, when I think of 11 and try to really think about an NBA player, like I think it jumps to that Yao Ming Rockets jersey. So let me know who you think of when you think of the number 11 in the NBA down below. Again, it doesn't have to be the best player ever. That makes sense why someone would think that way, so it's fine if that's the case. But if you do have a weird one, that's all right as well. And shout out to the guy last time we did that being like, stop trying to ask stupid questions in the comments. Like, whoa, somebody is allergic to fun, loser. But all right, let's get the train back on the tracks here. We have Toronto taking on Indiana. Again, in terms of what we think of this cup and how it matters, both these teams yet to get an in-season or an NBA Cup win. They're both 0-3, so I don't know if they're searching for their first or something like that. Like, the point differential for the Pacers is terrible, -49. But either way, in this spot, I do think that there is a decent look here. I don't mind Toronto at home. Am I totally sold on it? Not necessarily. Do I want them, to be, I guess, bigger underdogs so we can get a bigger number? Yes, but to me, 2.5 is plenty points in this spot. I'm not really all in on Indiana. In fact, I've said it multiple times, right? I'm not exactly sure what this team is and whatnot. And Indiana is on the road. They're just 2-9 this season on the road. Toronto 5-4. They are 1-11 on the road, 5-4 at home. So they are a much different team when they are at home. They've covered in 78% of games at home this year. Indiana just 27%. So yeah, I think Toronto's the correct side. Indiana also hasn't been great at all at stopping points in the restricted area. Toronto leading the league in the last 10 games in terms of field goal attempts per game in the restricted area. So yeah, this seems and screams a good spot for Toronto here. So give me them plus the points. Do I wish we had a bigger number? Yes. Could we wait it out and hope to get a bigger number? Yes, I do think that could be the move. In terms of the total, 238.5 is really high, but that's telling me that there are going to be points in this game, which I will trust and I will lean towards the over, but it also tells me that I think Toronto's going to get a lot of easy points in this spot as well. So in terms of player props, there is a spot I want to look at. And we'll flash it on over to the Outlier screen here. If you guys want a 7-day trial for Outlier, link will be down below as well. But I like RJ Barrett as well as Jakob Poeltl here in terms of points. Maybe we can look at RJ Barrett points plus assists because I do think he's going to get involved there. But in terms of points, these are the two guys that shoot in the restricted area over the last 10 games for Toronto. And you can see against Indiana last time they played, which was only, a couple weeks ago, RJ Barrett dropped 39. Jakob Poeltl dropped 30 on them now. We do have Scotty Barnes back, and that's going to be a a little bit, different. He's going to take a lot of shots and whatnot. But overall, yeah, I think that these two guys can still contribute. If I had to pick one, it's probably going to be a peak maybe at RJ Barrett over points plus assists, because I do think that he's going to have more assist opportunities. And you can see two small forwards, which RJ Barrett's getting a lot of small forward run. Indiana does allow a ton of assists. So yeah, two players that I'm considering. How we're going to exactly work them in, I'm still workshopping, but those are definitely two spots that I'm looking at here. The only thing that makes me like just the littlest bit hesitant there is that Scotty Barnes is back, and obviously he's going to take some points and shots away. So, maybe there's a little bit of a hesitancy there, but still, I don't mind it. I mean, even if you do want to go Scotty Barnes and say, screw it, like Scotty Barnes is third on the list in terms of points and field goal attempts in the restricted area, right? So yeah, maybe that's a spot, but all three of those guys could be good looks today. It's a matter of picking the right one or the right two, which that's the hard part. All right, Knicks taking on Orlando. I will say that this is a tough one. I do have a nice lean in this one that I do think has a chance of being a final play, but both teams are playing really well right now. Knicks 7-3 in their last 10. The Magic 9-1. They've won, I think it's 5 or 6 straight games. Overall, though, when you look at it, it's like, okay, well, let's look at the last 5 games for the Magic. Brooklyn, Chicago, Charlotte, Detroit. Nothing major there, right, in terms of competition. On the other side of things, New York has played a little bit tougher of a schedule, but it's still not all that tough. You have New Orleans, Charlotte, Dallas, Denver, and Utah. So, yeah, I guess Dallas and Denver, give them credit there. They did beat Denver. That was the game in which they went absolutely off and scored 145. But their most recent 2 wins, Charlotte and New Orleans. So both teams, I don't think, have been truly battle-tested over the last couple weeks, or I guess we could say week or so. And I think that is fair to say. In this spot, I'm just going to go down to the home-away splits. Like, this is a Knicks team that's obviously has only really been good at home and kind of had some struggles on the road. Against the spread, 57% of their games they've covered at home. In terms of straight up, 6-2 at home, 6-6 on the road. And then you have Orlando, who is 6-7 on the road. Okay, that's not terrible for a road record or anything, right? 46% of their games they've covered on the road. Okay, that's kind of close to 50-50, but they are a different team. They're 9-0 at home. They're not home today, buddy. So give me the Knicks here, minus the points. I've seen some 4.5s out there. Did I want to get to Orlando? Kind of, sort of, I'll be honest, but the numbers just can't seem to support it there. The Knicks have a much better offense, and the defense has been playing better as of late. They also should be able to compete. They've been playing a lot better defensively from the perimeter, which is going to be huge, and they should be able to score more points from the perimeter in this spot as well. So as long as they can kind of limit the points in the paint, which has been something that they've been okay at in the last, I would say, 15 I would say 15 games. They've been better at that, which, Karl-Anthony Towns just allowing guys to score early in the year. If they're good at that, if they can kind of keep that together, then I don't think that they should have that much trouble with Orlando. But I will put the little caveat out there. So if you're taking this as gospel, take it with a grain of salt, because these are two teams, like I mentioned, that have not really had the toughest of schedules. Now they're two decent teams playing one another. Anything can kind of happen. I know that's going to get a lot of people being like, wow, that's a cop-out and all that. No, it's just the truth. Like, I'm not saying the Knicks should have an easy way with Orlando due to the fact that, I think they're so much better than Orlando. They've just been playing better basketball, but that better basketball has a huge contextual asterisk, right? Their last 2 wins, Charlotte and New Orleans. So just keep that in mind. In terms of what we get to from a total perspective, Orlando over the last 10 games, the slowest paced team in the league. We have 2 nearly top 10 teams in terms of, defensive efficiency here. If you look at it from the last few games, yeah, New York is definitely one of those teams. So this at 216 seems a little bit high to me. I'm going to lean towards the under. I will say I'd much rather take a peek at the Knicks than the under in this one. We've seen both these teams have high-scoring games this year. Note what I already talked about, the Knicks scoring 145. So an under is never safe, even though these two teams are playing better defense, and the Knicks especially playing better defense as of late. OKC taking on Utah, and I just realized I probably shouldn't even call it out because it looks bad, but the Utah is their acronym is wrong, so the color scheme is wrong. They're now green. They're now Bucks colors. Officially now confirming the Utah Jazz are now Bucks colors because it says Utah instead of UTA, which would make them the normal colors. Anywho, in this spot, I do look at this one and I'm like, okay, well, much like the Cavs in Washington, this should be an OKC spot. Yes, they're still without Holmgren. Yes, they're still without one of the Jalen Williamses. And yes, they're still without Caruso. But Utah's going to be without Filipowski as well as Jordan Clarkson. So their starting lineup still looks okay, but their bench takes a massive hit, and this is just a way better, as we know, way better OKC team than this Utah team. And I do think Utah has had some decent games, this season where they have some impressive wins. Dallas they beat, New York they beat, but still they're dropping games left and right. Whereas OKC is winning games, and they're coming off of a loss to Houston. They lost to Houston, right? So it's like, yeah, they're now due to get back on track and everything like that. Last time these two teams played was last season, so not much to go off of there. But if we want to look at it like that, OKC's won 6 of the last 10 meetings. So yeah, give me OKC in this spot. Utah hasn't been all that tremendous this season at covering the 3-ball. OKC taking a lot of threes as well. No major player props in this one, but I expect OKC to try and push the pace, maybe run up the score. So maybe a team total over is the way to do this. That way we can rely on Utah's pace, OKC's offensive efficiency, right? And then if they do start to score, yeah, they might get closer to the 13.5 number, but we don't have to worry about the margin of victory. We just have to worry about them putting up a lot of points. So maybe we just look at OKC team total over, and that does sound decent to me as of right now. All right, this one kind of stinks because as I was looking at it, we didn't have the lines yet, but I was looking at the matchup and I was like, oh, both these teams can score in the paint. They like to shoot in the paint. Neither team's all that good at scoring in the paint. I like an over, right? Because you have two fast-paced teams. I didn't know the dang over-under was going to come out at 242.5. So that it's like, oh, I thought I had this edge. I thought I was going to beat the books to it. No, not quite, right? I still do like a lot of points in this game, but 242.5 is a high number. In terms of the spread, I'm going to look at Dallas. They should be healthy, right? Luka's back, Kyrie Irving. We do have Clay and Derek Lively as game time decisions, so maybe that's going to matter, especially when, like I just mentioned, Memphis likes to get to the hoop, but so does Dallas, and Dallas has been very good at scoring in the paint, and Memphis hasn't been all that tremendous at stopping it. So you do have the number 1 team in Memphis in terms of points in the paint this season going up against the number 4 team, against the number 16 defense and number 21 defense in terms of points in the paint. That's why I liked a lot of points. So yeah, again, I kind of feel like we had this edge, and I was excited to see what the line comes out at, and then poof, we just get punched in the face. Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face, but I still like a lot of points, and I like Dallas at home here in this spot. When it comes to what we're looking at from the cup standings, Dallas has been playing a little bit better here, 2-1 in the cup so far against the Grizzlies, 1-2. Grizzlies have been injured. Now they're starting to get a little bit more healthy, so I do get that. But give me Dallas at home in this spot. And honestly, Memphis, don't look now, but they have a 14-7 record. Like, this team is definitely on a little bit of a run. So I get it if someone wants to take a peek at Memphis here. Ja Morant being back and them being able to get to the hoop creates a lot of great, offensive games for them and easy buckets when they need to score. I just think that they're kind of due for a bad game and due for a game in which they play a good defensive team like Dallas, which kind of sounds crazy to say because Dallas last year wasn't all that defensive, but their top 10 defense this year, I think that they're due for that. Their last few games here have been Indiana, New Orleans, Detroit, Portland, Chicago, Philadelphia. That's their 6-game win streak. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, you throw in a good team there, and they might get smacked in the face. So give me Dallas minus the points. Like I said, I like a lot of points in this one. I don't know if I can get to that 242.5, but I would not consider an under just because of the fact that these two teams should be able to score. I know we have two good defenses, but two mediocre defenses down low, and that's where these two teams are going to look to score. Hey, and by the way, guys, as we're editing this and whatnot, I notice that sometimes I don't even mention, no player props in this one. If I don't talk player props or if we just skip past it, it means that I don't have any player props in that game. I think that should be self-explanatory, but I do want to make sure that that is clear. If we add any player props in, they will be on the Guy Boston Sports site along with the final plays. And if we don't talk about it in the video and I add a random player prop, I'll give a little bullet point or multiple bullet points of a blurb as to why I like that player prop. So just keep that in mind. If you're like, where the player prop in that game, it means that I just didn't have any player props or currently don't have any player props in that game. Hopefully that makes sense. I have Phoenix taking on San Antonio. Trey Jones out for the Spurs, so no brotherly love in that one. Game time decision is going to be Jeremy Sohan. And then on the other side of things, no Nurkic. Then Beal is listed as probable. So is Sohan, actually. So both those guys listed as probable. This is one where I could see Phoenix winning this one, but me also saying that 7.5 points is too much. So I think that's the story we're going to stick to here. I like San Antonio to keep this game somewhat close. Phoenix has been playing, up and down basketball, but honestly, mostly down, right? Now, I will say that they are at home, and that's a big boost for them. 7-4 this year at home versus 4-4 on the road, but they're not really covering at home. They're not covering in general. They've only covered in 27.3% of games at home this year, and when just in general, they've only covered in 36.8% of their games. So yeah, this 11-8 team has a 7-12 ATS number in record, and San Antonio is 11-9 both straight up and against the spread. So as long as San Antonio has Wembanyama and I guess Chris Paul's healthy, that type of thing, I don't mind taking a peek at them. I do think that Trey Jones is a bigger miss than people give it credit for. He left, I want to say halftime or maybe late in the game. I wasn't watching, but on my phone, left later in the game against the Clippers, right? And it's a shoulder injury, and now I think he's only due to miss like 1 or 2 games, so shouldn't be a major injury, but I do think that he gives a lot of, a lot of play off the bench that they need. So that is a big loss, but again, Bradley Beal's questionable. If Bradley Beal's out, then yikes. And then Nurkic, who I know a lot of Suns fans don't like sometimes, the way Nurkic plays, that's also a staple in that offense. So yeah, give me the Spurs. I think 7.5 points is just a little bit too much, but I will admit, I think the Suns can win this game, but it just seems like it fits if the shoe fits, right? It's like the Suns can win this one and not cover, kind of like they've been doing all year long. Now that totals up at 230. I do think the Spurs will push the pace here and will try and attack from the 3-point range. So yeah, give me the over 230 in this spot. It's a high number, but I see no reason why the Suns can't operate by scoring a lot of points. And then the Spurs defense in the last 3 games hasn't been all that tremendous. They've played some fast-paced games, but that offense has been keeping up. 2 of their last 3 games, they've scored 127 or more points. So this offense is clicking right now. So even if this does turn into a high-scoring affair and whatnot because the Spurs defense isn't playing tremendously, I think the Spurs can keep up with this Phoenix team, especially with some of the injuries on their side. And then in terms of a player prop, I do think that, and this is a risky one, so I don't know if I roll with it because you're fading the guy that's very good, Kevin Durant. I don't mind his under 2.5 3-pointers made. I think he's going to try and get to the mid-range. They really do struggle defensively, San Antonio, at preventing that mid-range. So yeah, I think and that's a spot that Phoenix does like to shoot from, right? So I think that he's going to get to the mid-range or the hoop a decent amount. So under 2.5 3-pointers made for Durant is a decent spot. Obviously, he's playing the power forward now, and San Antonio on the season allowing the fewest 3-pointers made to opposing power forwards. So he's not a typical power forward. I get it. Last time he played them, that was last year he had 4 threes. Last 5 games he's had 4, 3, 3, 3, and 3. It's a risky one, but I think that this could be a buy high spot for Durant sell high spot in terms of Durant for his 3-pointers made. But me saying that, all of a sudden he's probably going to have 42 threes tomorrow. That would be just my luck. All right, this next one, definitely keep an eye on the injuries. You have Draymond and Steph listed as questionable here. That's really the main injuries. Denver, Peyton Watson listed as probable, so nothing much to totally monitor there. This should be a good game that I ultimately think Denver pulls out. Denver's won 8 of the last 10 matches against Golden State. Golden State has lost 4 straight. Now, obviously, they've been bumped and bruised, and I get it. But Denver, I feel like starting to put things together, and the Warriors are 3-0 in their group. Denver just 1-2. So again, maybe if that's a factor, Denver knows they really want to get a win here in group play. I don't know how much, and I know a lot of people out there believe that it changes it and it makes it like a playoff atmosphere and whatnot. I'm still like not sold on it. Sorry for, I want like at least 2 seasons of how much we see the play change. But yeah, I guess let me know in the comments what you think of the NBA Cup / in-season tournament. Like, do you think that these guys care that much more? I understand the financial implication, but 500 grand's not going to matter to that many people. Legacy, I don't know if anyone's putting this, flagship type of response to the idea of, oh, well, LeBron won an in-season tournament. Like, I'm just not sold on it yet. I'm not naysaying it. I'm just not totally sold on it. So if you do like the in-season tournament and you do think that it matters in the standings and whatnot, then it probably gives Denver a little bit added motivation at home against the number 1 team in their group, that type of thing. So yeah, give me Denver. I think a lot of points could be scored in this game, but not 238.5. So yeah, I think this could get into the 230s, but I like this Denver team if they start to slow things down. Their defense has not been good this year, but Golden State's has. So Golden State, even if these 2 teams are flying one, Golden State could definitely slow things down. They have one of the best, if not the best, transition defense so far this season, right? So yeah, give me an under 238.5. Denver, if they weren't at home, I don't know if I'd like this as much, but I'm going to trust them there. So give me Denver as well as the under, and then no major player props I'm considering as of right now. We just really need Denver's defense to show up for them to cover as well as the under. If their defense doesn't show up, and we've seen their defense not show up at times, then we have some trouble, like AK when they let 145 in against New York. All right, the Kings. I mean, I really don't. This Kings team has me by the you-know-what, and they're twisting. Like, these, I don't know why I continue to roll with them and lock them in, and then they just absolutely smack me in the face. So, you know what? We're going Rockets. Not because of numbers, not because of anything. We're going Rockets because we are due to smack back and punch back and put up a fight against these Kings. So give me the Rockets plus the 1 point. Maybe just Rockets on the money line. Yes, that's not the way that you should be looking at games and locking it in, but if you live this day to day, like I'm sure most of you guys do, you know that there comes a vibe to it. And it's like, I cannot look at this team one more time. So Rockets plus the 1. Maybe we just look at them on the money line if we can get anything close to plus money. They're playing such good basketball. In my brain, this is such a time where it's like obvious that the Rockets should win, so you look at the Kings, right? But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing the, oh my God, like, yeah, obviously the Rockets are due to flop and the Kings are due to get a win. I'm not doing it. Give me the Rockets. I don't know if I lock it in myself. I don't know if I have the cojones to do that because I do think the Kings are the spot. But if you've been watching every day, you know this Kings team has me in a torture chamber and I'm a glutton for punishment. So I just can't really touch this right now. The Kings are this close to being on the do not bet list, the DNB list. So give me the Rockets. Let's see how that works out. In terms of the total, I do think if the Rockets win this one, it's probably a little bit slower of a game than if the Kings do, even though the Rockets are playing at a really, really fast pace this season, or at least in the last few games, they are still such a good defense. So I do think that this one kind of slows down a little bit. So give me the under. If Sacramento wins, they're actually, so it's kind of confusing. Houston can play well. They're playing really fast. They're a very efficient defense, not so much offense. So honestly, you look at their pace and whatnot, it's like, yeah, they've been scoring a lot of points, but if you break it down to the possession, not so much, right? So if they do win, I do think that their best basketball is played good defense. Whereas Sacramento, when they get wins, they're actually out here kind of running and gunning, even though they're playing at a slow pace overall, but they've had such a rough season. Does that make sense? Am I confusing myself here? Either way, Rockets and the under, and no player props right now. All right, Clippers taking on Portland. These two teams are a lot similar than we might think in terms of how they like to score and where they're good at defensively. But what I do think will kind of change this and make me flip to or not flip, but lean towards the Clippers side is the fact that the Clippers are way better on the perimeter. So both these teams good at stopping points in the paint. Both teams like to shoot in the paint, but the Clippers are going to have a better time scoring from the perimeter. So I would lean towards the Clippers here in this spot. In terms of an over-under, I don't necessarily have the biggest of takes, but I do think both these teams, are high paces and are high-paced teams, 13th and 10th over the last 10 games, yet we still have a total down at 218, so that tells me that somebody knows that this should be a low-scoring game, so I'll use that as a line-reading opportunity and say, give me the under. But my favorite play in this one, and we'll flip over to the outlier screen, may be a James Harden three-pointer look here. 2.5. You can see he's hitting 3 of 4 against the Blazers. And the one that he didn't, he had 9, and he shot 22% from 3. Like 9 attempts, he had 2 makes, 22%. He's a way better shooter than that. On the season, he's hit it in 13 of 22. You look at his last 20 games, 13 of his last 20, and then his last 10, 7 of his last 10, right? So I do think this is a good spot. Like I mentioned, well, actually, they're decent at stopping points this season against the point guard. So, okay, throw that in there. But I do think that this is a weak perimeter defense. You can even see here in terms of what we have kind of middle of the pack in terms of 3-point percentage. So James Harden should get a few looks as long as he's going to take those attempts, right? Averaging 8.9, but over the last 5, it's even more. So last 5 games for him, he's hitting 5 straight, averaging 4.4 makes in terms of attempts, averaging 10 attempts. So if he shoots 40% from 3 and gets some open looks, I really do like this spot from him. In terms of insights, you can see he's exceeded 2.5 threes in 5 straight games, which we already know. So overall, I do like this spot for James Harden. Most books, let's see where this is at. Most books have this right around the minus 140 mark. You can see FD at minus 130. So maybe not a bad look there either. In terms of, points plus assists, I think he'll have a good night, but look at this trend, right? Like he has not been doing all that tremendous in terms of that overall. So I think threes might be the isolated spot that we can look at for James Harden. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.